We can actually make bloopers.
I think the whole show is a blooper. Episode 10, we've got Nguyen, exciting guest, and former powerlifter. Now he's playing around with some combat sports.
Yeah. German Vietnamese, grew up in Germany, just came to Vietnam last year, and has about 8 months on combat sports.
Yeah, he came for the noodles, stuck around for the grappling. Absolute athlete. Takes pretty much to anything he gets his hands on. So started with wrestling, plays around with jiu-jitsu, and now he's a little bit more focused on Muay Thai.
I don't know which one he's improving faster on, his grappling, his Muay Thai, or his speaking skills on video.
He is here today.
Welcome to the Saigon Saga, where we cover combat sports in Vietnam and have fun while doing it. Both of you guys had your first Muay Thai exhibition fight.
Unofficially.
No, but you got in the ring and there was a referee. But how'd that feel?
I was very pleased to be the first one out of the three of us to go. So it was myself, An, and Nico, and Gail was supposed to fight as well, but there's some mix up with some opponents or whatnot. And I was very happy to be the first one to go in there and get it out of the way.
Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, when we arrived, it's a little bit disorganized. It's just like an inter-gym sparring competition. And we're standing around trying to kind of size up the opponents. And there's one Vietnamese guy there, and I don't know where they found him. And I didn't know they made him this big, but we're all kind of looking at this guy like, who's he going to fight? Like, we're just
nobody
waiting for someone else to like walk in the door and be like, oh, that's the guy he's going to match up with. And push comes to shove, and eventually, I guess one of us has to do it. So
basically, Adam's first Muay Thai fight, 14-year-old, 90 kg Vietnamese guy.
Yeah,
who had 2 years of MMA experience.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you get 2 years?
I just remember seeing he just power punches, man. Power punches.
Yeah, big boy for sure. Like he's a kid for sure, and I'm a man, so there's some difference there. But as we're leading up to it, it's like, yeah, you meet your opponent, you say hello, like it's all in good fun. But in my head, I'm really trying to just believe that, oh, this guy's like my size. He's not that much taller than me, which he wasn't. And he wasn't that much thicker than me, only like maybe his leg is twice as much as wide.
Bro, he was thick. It's not like he was a chubby guy, he was like really thick.
Yeah, but when you're going to go in and fight him, you can't have this mindset. You just got to believe like, no, we're the same.
Yeah,
we're the same. And then I watched the video after and I was like, oh yeah, we were the same. But I had convinced myself of this. And moving into the fight, like I expected, we'll like start light, feel the jab, get some reactions. But yeah, he just started walking forward and
just rushed in
and threw some haymakers, and I put on the defensive pretty quick, just trying to cover up. And after that, it was okay. I weathered the storm and settled in and got a bit more comfortable.
Was there a specific pattern of the first round?
Absolutely, dude. It would be like he marches forward, throwing bombs, and I would just guard up and like eat about half of them and block the other half, and then the referee would separate it, and then the same thing would happen again. And each time through my mind was like, man, could be a long 3 rounds.
So you're telling me that this guy was like throwing like 2-3 haymakers to your head, and you cannot answer because the referee pauses it. The guy regains in like 5 seconds the energy back again into his hands. The fight starts again, and then boom, 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 the same thing for like 5 times.
Yeah. But I think he fatigued himself decently. So initially it was supposed to be under a Muay Thai rule set. That was my impression. That was our coach's impression. But yeah, when we got there, it turned out to just be kickboxing, which doesn't necessarily favor my style, being more of a grappler than a striker. But
and then it's supposed to be 3 rounds. And just after the first round, it said, no, he's a heavyweight. We just do 2 rounds. It's like, what the fuck? And I was like super angry. They said, no, stop. Like, what the fuck? Because we know that Adam like needs like 1 to 2 rounds to get in. And
that's true for sure. I need some time to warm up.
Your only advantage.
Yeah. I thought we were going to be doing 3x3, and then they're like, 3x2. And then after the second round, the guy, I guess his corner had just decided he was too tired.
It was getting tired of beating you.
But anything I hit this guy with, man, you just felt like you're hitting a tree trunk. No give. You land anything, it doesn't back him up at all.
Really? Because in the second round, you were landing like
You were landing, but he was not backing
But he
up.
doesn't move,
just
man. I landed so many leg kicks, but every time I feel like I was just hitting. You're not hitting the heavy bag where it moves. You're just like hitting like a pad, and it just is there.
Jesus.
And I was like landing a lot of kicks, but you're hoping you're doing damage, and you're thinking like, oh, this must be hurting him, but he just is there lumbering forward.
Did you plan on going to another fight? Were you excited about another fight? Did you have a new strategy for the next fight or what?
So at this point, when I signed up for this matchup, and there's no weigh-in or anything, they're just trying to find somebody who's about your size and about your experience level. So, and maybe about your age. I guess that one doesn't matter. But so I signed up around like 79 or 80 kilograms, and I was like, okay, we'll sign up for 77 kilograms, and I'll get in shape and like cut a few kilograms. Not like water or anything, just like do more running, get a little bit more leaner, and ended up showing up on fight day around 75. And the guy was around 90. So for the next one, I'm going to actually drop down to
71.
71. So it'll be a 19 kilogram drop. I'm going to come out of the heavyweight, and I've had enough time up there. That's for sure.
Debuted at the heavyweight division.
Yeah, incidentally.
So you had also had your first Muay Thai exhibition, and you certainly prepared for it. Certainly prepared for it.
Mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yes. So you've been doing combat sports for 6 to 8 months now. I've witnessed 8 grappling matches. How was your mind going into this fight, noting that it's your first striking competition, and you've already had 9 grappling matches in the past?
Yeah. Actually, I have to correct you. I started in 2022 with grappling.
Yep.
But then I injured myself, was out for half a year or something like this, and then restarted it in Vietnam. I started with, this doesn't answer your question yet.
Yeah.
I started with boxing, and like 2 to 3 months. Then I came to Shark, where I started grappling again in summer last year. And then a couple of weeks later, I met you at that gym.
Yeah. I knew when you came to class you were going to be a force. You're going to be a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, I was a loudmouth, and I'm still am.
No, you weren't a loudmouth. You were still very humble, and I was like, man, we got to get this guy into a competition. Dude, I remember your first competition, you had like 23 people in your bracket. You end up taking third, and then you lost to basically someone who is not a white belt, someone who's would be already like a seasoned blue belt. But anyway, and then you dominate the next tournament. But take us through your mind on Sunday.
The thing is, it started like 5 weeks ago when we officially did a fight camp with Lucas. And in the beginning, I was talking with Mirko especially because he had his first fights, and I was like, oh man, everything can happen. You can even die and stuff. And I was like, because actually you kind of can, but of course it's like very unusual and probably never happened in an amateur fight. And and then I was still like super focused and like kind of anxious, but that pushed me to stay disciplined. And then the last week, when we actually tapered down for the fight, I wasn't even thinking about a fight. Maybe because I knew it wasn't an official amateur fight, it was more like a exhibition. But it never crossed my mind that anything can happen. Like, okay, I really felt prepared. But then when I stepped into the ring, or actually, I have to say I underestimated him, because when we did the matchup, I saw, okay, Adam's got a 90 kg guy. Nick got the most experienced guy. And then they said, yeah, this guy is like about 6 months training. So okay, I can hold up against a guy who has about the same experience. He was lighter. He was like 6 kg lighter, and visually like even smaller because, you just saw it, and I thought, oh man, I will kill him. And then I got into the ring. Then he was really good. And later he told me he's training for roughly 1.5 years. So this explains why his footwork was better, his distance management, his reaction time.
Yeah, you could see it though. He looked very comfortable. He had like good distance management.
He even got a little bit cocky.
Yeah, as the time went on.
I got angry. Kind of.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I couldn't like throw like in training. I was like super focused on not getting hit. So in the beginning, I underestimated him. I thought, okay, easy thing. I will rush him, and then he kicked me a couple times really hard, like his hardest shots, and I could eat it. But it still like showed me, okay, I shouldn't go like rushing into it.
Wow.
He kicked some respect into you.
Yeah, basically. And then I feinted and I figured out the distance, but I never let my hands go. And later when I rewatched it, the instructions Lucas gave me would be perfect, but I couldn't listen to it. I don't know how it was for you, Mirko, in your fight or your first fight. Could you listen to your coach during the fight, or it was like...
I was younger than you. I was, I think like 16 years old. My first fight, I don't remember. I don't think that I heard anything. I was just pure adrenaline.
Yeah. The adrenaline thing is a real thing. You feel the punches and the kicks, but it's like, okay, it is what it is. And the same night after we went together to dinner and the shenanigans and stuff, I went home. And then all of a sudden, within 30 minutes, my foot swole. And
really?
Yeah, it really hurt. I couldn't sleep that good that night.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, I guess that's the name of the game.
I think you also said that, Adam. You didn't really feel anything in the fight, but you were really sore that night. Is that correct?
Yeah, like my shin bones were fine, like the tibia, but the tibialis anterior, the muscle on the front of the calf, is like, I don't know. I guess that's what you get for kicking trees. But back to Lucas's instruction, I would hear him in the corner and he'd give me instruction, and I would follow through, and I would do it once and it would work perfectly. Mm-hmm. And then you either forget or get distracted or something else happens, and then it'd be rinse and repeat. I'd listen, do it once, it would work perfectly, and then you just kind of fall off the wagon a bit. But I felt quite composed the whole fight, which for me, this is the most important thing, is getting in there and like actually... you're participating in a sports event within the rule set rather than not just getting in a action adrenaline fueled slugfest.
Yeah.
So as the rounds go on and the time goes on, like this is what you want to see, especially for the first performance, when you go in there and you really don't know what's going to happen. Like, are you going to freeze up? Are you going to go wild and then gas out because you have an adrenaline dump? Like,
that's
until you're in there, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So just getting the first one out of the way is big, because I've had confrontations before, but none that are lasting more than 30 seconds. Everything else has been just like a complete melee, and then you're exhausted. Whereas like, you can swing, but you better be able to recover in the corner and come out composed.
You created a reference now.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's not going to be long before both of you guys are back in the ring. But this is not an exhibition match. This is an official fight, a Muay Thai fight, correct?
It's a Muay Thai event. They have amateur fights, it's like kind of prelims. They have amateur pro with I think it's only shin guard.
Yeah, no protection, just shin guard, and I don't know about the elbow pads.
That's a good question.
But which category are you guys?
Amateur.
The first one. If you want to catch the main event, you come in the evening. If you want to come see us, you got to wake up early.
Yeah, that's still moving up very quickly.
Yeah, the rule set will be, well, ideally what we were preparing for was the Muay Thai rule set, and this will be the kind of the same game.
Okay. And you have three 3-minute rounds, is that correct?
Three 2-minute rounds.
3 2-minute rounds.
Yeah. So action packed.
That's a little bit more.
Yeah. This is a faster pace.
A little bit more digestible though.
Yeah. In one
regard,
less
time to feel out, and so it's action from the beginning.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you can't like.
There's no time.
There's no like.
If you lose the first round, it's like shit. I have to go all out for the second. If you lose that second round, it's like over. You have to knock him out, but there's probably not enough energy there for a knockout.
And you guys are going to have what, 10-ounce gloves for the Muay Thai event?
I don't know.
10-ounce gloves.
Yeah, I think for the first one was 10 ounce.
And this one will be 10-ounce gloves as well. Elbow pad, the sock, shin guard.
Yeah, but like they probably provide the stuff.
Yes, they should be providing the protection, and it's exciting for sure.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait for it. As someone who's just recently come into this striking game, mainly because of you three. I didn't really have a choice, but to come
Bro, end of the year.
But I tell you what, man, like, it's so much fun.
It is, yeah.
Muay Thai is so much fun, you know, and it's exciting but so.
I don't know. I can't say this week of training has been fun. I've been getting beat up by everyone.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like now you're a little bit in a valley. Like
I didn't take any days off after the last one. I was kind of on a high.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have taken one rest day, but now I just got to make it to Sunday. Then I'll rest and recover. I'm a bit sore, a bit beat up, but we'll get back at it.
Yeah. So just focusing like on your story, you know, I think combat sports, a lot, like almost everyone has like a really interesting story as to why they got into it, what motivates them, what drives them, and these things are not always discussed. And you initially got into powerlifting, German powerlifting. I mean, that's very extreme. So you came to you do very extreme sport, and it's very, very obvious that it's just no one's surprised that you were a powerlifter. So
bro, it's pretty cold here.
Where, like, do you have any moments growing up to where that led you down this path of like extreme sports, combat sports, these individual sports that require a lot of dedication, discipline?
I mean, every great story starts with getting attention from women, right? So no, I was always a kind of athlete. I was super into sports since my grades were like average. So I have to excel it to one thing, and I really loved sport from the beginning. So I did track and field, I did soccer, I played volleyball in my youth. And then later, at 16, 17, I figured out, hey, I got a six-pack. Like just from doing team sports. And then I realized women like that. Or let's say girls at that time.
Yeah.
And that was not the biggest motivation, but then I saw a Flex magazine. I don't know if you know that. Flex magazine for bodybuilders. And I saw Ronnie Coleman. It was like, damn, this is like the freakiest. Yeah. For those who don't know, he's the 8-time Mr. Olympia. So really, really big and famous bodybuilder. And then the YouTube started. And then I got into fitness, or like kind of bodybuilding fitness. Yeah. And then I met a friend, a very good friend now, Robert. Shout out to him and his wife, Sandy. He was like a big brother to me. He showed me everything about nutrition, about training, bodybuilding. He's a professional bodybuilder. And then I got into powerlifting because a gym member who was a very well-known powerlifter in Germany saw, hey, he can squat, he can deadlift, and I think he has potential. Yeah, and then I got introduced to the head coach of the national team, Germany, and he wrote the training plans. We became friends, and he even moved to the city where I lived, not because of me, but it was pretty nice to have him around. And then I got introduced to really good athletes, and then I grew pretty fast. Up until the point where I was in a kind of perspective team, where you hit a certain number to be in like a B team, like kind of B team. So yeah, and then you get invited into Europeans and Worlds, but I couldn't make it because I injured myself. And fast forward. So I have always been into fitness and stuff, years and years. Even did CrossFit for a little while. And then I started grappling in 2022. And the reason was I've never been tested in my life. So I had a couple of like kind of fights in clubs, but it's more like pushing and shoving and throwing, but not really like taking. I never got hit in my life like before I started martial arts. So I never knew if I can take it. I never knew if I can really beat someone, because people see your physique and think, oh, man, he's a big guy and he can beat you. But it's kind of intimidating to not know, right? And
Yeah.
And then I did grappling. And the very first day, I got smother tap 5 times at least. It's like you don't know anything. For those who don't know smother tap, it's like basically he hugs you and pushes your head into his chest. And since we are sweating, you cannot breathe. And after the session, he said, "Yeah, you just had to pull your head to the side." And I was like,
You're like, no, I
couldn't even tap. I didn't know. I was like shaking and waving, and then he let loose. So
after your first day of waterboarding, what made you want to return?
So I knew I have to come back. I cannot leave this world without knowing that I'm kind of competent in this. And I really liked it.
Which
not
one
as
now?
smother tapping, but everything about martial arts is like the discipline part, the getting humbled every day. The striking is different than the grappling. Striking, if you're an athletic guy, you can hold yourself, you can get in and out, and everybody knows how to punch, kind of. So, but in grappling, if you don't know anything, you get like ragdolled from people, and he was 10 kg lighter than me, and I was even bigger than now at that time. So strength is like, not the number one component, obviously. And then when I got better in grappling, strength was a big component if you're skill-wise on the same level. Yeah, but then I got injured when we did our first. It was the same gym, but then there was a period where we did kickboxing, and I just got thrown in, and I injured myself. Oh, a guy injured me with a couple of low kicks, and then I got a rupture in the muscles, and I was out for like 3 months. And then some different stuff that I don't want to get back. And then, And then I decided to not move to Vietnam, but fly. And then later I kind of decided to live here now. And then I restarted with boxing, like I told you before. And so things got together. I already forgot the question, brother.
No, I was just asking, what was the story why you got into combat sports, and what gave you your motivation for doing extreme?
Yeah, women, obviously.
Women. That's why we do all things, basically. So what you came to Vietnam? What was your first impression of the combat sports scene here in Saigon?
Yeah, the first gym I joined was a Vietnamese one, where one of the best guys trained, but I never met him at that time. It's Joe Vidon, for those who know. And he was in the US, I think, at that time. And since his coach does not speak too good of English, I translated a couple of things. So I met him, kind of met him, and via face call. And I was super inspired. It was like, wow, they have Israel Adesanya and Khabib and everybody as a poster. And then they told me, they have a guy who's training in the US who qualifies for the UFC. I was like, wow. But then I got to the classes, and it was like, I would say a typical Vietnamese Muay Thai gym where it's more about fun. It's a lot of kids, and I was probably the most dedicated by showing up 3-4 times a week. So, and then I wanted to restart with grappling, and then I came to Shark, where I felt like, damn, this is a different level than what I used to in Germany. So way more technical, less physically, but way more technical. And that's where I met a bunch of guys, and then I decided to move closer to where everything happens, right? And and then I switched the gym, and I met you, and that's where my competitive career started. kind of.
Man, it was, I'll never forget that day. I remember that day. And you were like, oh, first day of wrestling. I was like, man, this is going to be quite a ride. He has no idea how good he's going to be.
Yeah, I remember training with you like one of the first couple of days you were there. I think it was just you, me, and Felipe.
Yeah.
And yeah, like technically, like, I'm not a good wrestler by any means, but technically I had more knowledge than you. But it was just like, damn, this guy, he's strong. And then I give him a couple months, and it just turned into like give him a few weeks, and then the body started to change from the bodybuilder to the athlete and the fighter, and like your physique is different for sure. And you seem like you move way differently than you did when you got here.
Yeah.
That's my biggest observation.
My friends in Germany say I'm small now.
That's what everyone's been telling me, dude. When I went back to over and under the other day, everyone was like, oh, you're so small. Like, you were the same size now. And actually, compared to you, I am small now.
No, I wouldn't say that.
So where are you heading?
Where I'm heading?
Yeah, because you had striking, you had the grappling.
Yes, sir. It's the natural progression would be MMA. But yeah, I think I will start sparring with you and Jovi, and then see how it feels. Getting better at I mean, basically, I'm a white belt, and I'm a white belt at Muay Thai, so it's like I'm a white belt.
Yeah,
it's like everything that I'm doing is helping me to get better in general.
Do you know the parable of the bowls of shit?
Tell me.
Well, a lot of bowls will come and be served to you, and you have to finish them clean. And when you finish it, then the next bowl comes.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, you're not a normal white belt. You know what I mean? You're not. You're not really a white belt. I mean, you'd still. If I went to a grappling tournament and then, I step on the mat and I see you on the other side, I'd be like, man, I got a tough match. So it's like you're not any white belt, and you just improve so fast that I mean, I really think a lot of people are watching your story with just excitement and anticipation. I think this morning someone asked me about you.
Who?
Yeah, someone asked me, if someone in my wrestling class asked, I was like, hey, and talk about your Muay Thai, you just striking more and stuff like that. I was like, yeah.
Striking more. Does he grapple at all anymore? Or what's
I mean, just what, like a short 8 months. How has your perspective changed on combat sports, basically?
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I've always been disciplined in terms of sports and nutrition, but I feel like the more you know, the more you know, the more you understand that you don't know, and it's actually like this. So as long as you stay dedicated to the sport and try to learn every day, then you see the results within even months. What is what I feel. Of course, it's like with bodybuilding. If you go once or twice, you don't see anything. But if you go consistently for 100 days, then 200 days, 300 days, then you see like leaps. And that's what I'm aiming. I know this. The thing is, there's always someone who's better, obviously. And I need experience. And even if that means that I will lose the first 3 fights in the Muay Thai, it is what it is. As long as I'm getting better, it's like, okay, this is a normal progression. Nobody will judge me on what happened 3 months ago. They judge me on how do I perform today.
Absolutely. And like, you stepped in the ring where most people won't step in the ring. Yeah. So, but it seems like you've always been like a very disciplined, dedicated to everything that you've ever done. Right. Yeah. So that's pretty consistent with your early in life. It goes back to when you were a teenager.
Well, I thought about boxing when I was 16 because I had friends that were boxing in my hometown, and it always looked cool. And I was always intimidated. We never boxed, we never fight, but it was like, oh man, he's boxing. And then I saw videos how he punched the bag and was like, damn, this is really loud. And it looks like vicious. But I never started. And then like kind of this insecurity builds up, and then you start bodybuilding because you think if you look intimidating, then nobody will want to have like kind of stress with you. And yeah, all my life I thought about starting to do martial arts, but never did. I watched the movies, of course, and it was always so cool to see the superheroes. But man, and then it was like this COVID time where I really thought deeply about it, still delayed it for a year. And then I thought, oh, okay, I have to do it. There was an opportunity. There was a gym I really liked. I tested, before I joined the gym in Germany in 2022, I tested one before and was like, man, these are like hooligans, kind of. And I don't want to go there and get smashed every day. But the other gym was more like, okay, here's a kids class, so they behave and stuff. There was a different vibe. Yeah. And that was the reason why I started even late in life. And people say, hey man, you're still young. Like,
so I think it's very hard when you're in the age and in that moment. It's hard for us to know that, hey, really, it's never too late to start.
yeah,
You know, because we've seen people in their 70s
yeah.
go and we know Walt Power, who's competed in the world championships in jiu-jitsu in his
Really?
early 70s and didn't even start jiu-jitsu until he was 54. He's a black belt already.
Yeah.
So
That's why I like your mission, like of the Saigon Saga, to create this community. Because sometimes you need people who believe in you and encourage you and say, hey, just come over, just test it, and then hey, stick to it.
yeah,
Couple weeks, and then you will feel different.
The first time going to a Muay Thai class, the first time going to a jiu-jitsu gym, it has a different feeling because you know you're going into a room of people who are just training to beat you up, essentially.
that's a good point. I think there's this stigma around from the outside on combat sports, even grappling, where people who aren't grapplers or have ever done this type of training, they just see they're just fighting, but it's not
Grappling,
fighting.
bro. They think that's gay and it's super boring.
I know.
Even I, as a practitioner, think it's boring.
Well, boring and gay, and here we're doing our part to maintain that image.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But it's like people just think it's fighting, but to me, it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And the community, to me, is the most special thing about it.
Definitely.
It is you can basically go in almost anywhere in the world and find a strong community of people, high quality people.
Yeah.
Especially when you go to Turkey and do the Turkish oil wrestling.
Have you done that,
Very
Mirko?
intimate.
Have you done that, Mirko?
Not yet.
That's on the bucket list. Yeah?
That sounds good. That would be fun.
Imagine with a super hairy Turkish guy.
Yeah, well, it's just about the sport.
Mirko, what is as a modern philosopher here, and we can all agree, a unique perspective on life and combat sports in general. What are some observations you've had and some beliefs that you maybe have changed in the last few years?
I was just thinking about that. I had the perception of the highest class athletes being kind of like idiots. We have a word for that. It's Fachidiot. It's like you're like a subject idiot. You're so good in what you do, but it's just like this little niche. And you do nothing else but this, and then you have nothing else to offer. This was a belief I had. I think it was injected by one of my teachers in school. He was mocking Boris Becker, the German tennis star.
player. It's a pretty well-known tennis player.
For impregnating one of his mates in the Besenkammer in like a small room. You know, like
I don't
like
know
a
the
locker
English
room
word.
or something. You know. But this is not always the case, I'd say. Like there are people like that have nothing else to offer, obviously, and they are subject idiots. But there's a lot of interest because I was never into this, like really like this, seeing this individual not as just I always thought about the sports people being just a vessel for what they do as an athlete. and I never really cared about like who they are as a person. Like I was not that deep inside, but since I'm watching the UFC, which is not very long, because of social media right now, we all get a glimpse if we care of those people, of their lifestyle, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
never had that before. Yeah.
Dana White, the president of the UFC, also said to be in the UFC you have to be a special breed, and to be in the top 5 is like these people you cannot put them to society. They are still like, especially if you watch social media, you think, oh, these are normal people, but I think you have to be obsessed in some kind of way to get to this level and commit your whole life to probably the most extreme sport. And
everything has to fall in place.
Yeah.
Talent, because dedication.
Everything can happen. Like really, not with the amateur fight, but in professional MMA, so many careers ended, so many, brain damage, what we heard of. It's like,
but no one died yet, right, in the UFC?
Yeah, no one. I mean, no, not from fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the more notable fighters have, before they step into the cage, they take on a different persona.
Yeah.
They turn themselves into someone else, and that is the reason they're so successful.
I mean, it's super fascinating to me. It's like, I watched motivational videos on YouTube from Kobe Bryant, who had this Mamba mentality. I watched, of course, the Jordan documentary, The Last Dance on Netflix. And I watched documentaries about Conor McGregor, about Khabib, who's a different breed, very religious. But every one of them was like obsessed with winning. And everybody had a different, they had an alter ego. And you see it. They are kind of normal if you talk to them, but then they switch, and now the more social media, because social media is getting bigger and bigger, and they realize, okay, I can make money. They do their own channels, and then they talk about this, especially if they retired already. And it was always fascinating. I used to read biographies of like well-known athletes. Michael Phelps, it's like he won 23 Olympic gold medals. It's like, what the fuck? Nobody came even close to this, and he never missed a single session within 5 years when he won insane. The 8 gold medals in Beijing.
Do you notice a shift in your mindset before you go into competition?
Not at all. I'm too nice of a guy. And we talked, Mirko and me and a couple of friends talked about this, that I basically, I don't know if I have no anger or is it's just deep down and I don't want to let it out because I'm more of a nice guy. Even in sparring, the first time when we sparred with Felipe and Hobson, they said, don't be a nice guy. Like we spar. You can hit me. And I was so hesitant. I was like, I don't know. And they hit me hard. So I should have no choice, but I still didn't go hard. And no, I'm still looking for that.
Yes.
And I want to create a character, but it's not like, okay, I'm this. I think you don't decide it.
Yeah.
To have a character, it's just like you have to dig very deep and find it within you.
Yeah, and perhaps it's one that develops.
Yeah.
Over time. I mean, you're a classic example of like pure athleticism.
Yeah.
And that turns to excellence.
Yeah.
And Mirko here, from what I see, Mirko as a competitor, the best example I've ever seen as a mindset, resilience, and its direct translation into combat sports competition. Whether it's, I was so upset yesterday in wrestling practice when I cannot get a takedown on Mirko. Why can I not do this?
I had the wizard, And I
And he was
Answers
thinking,
all.
what are you doing, bro?
And I decided to not let it happen with the wizard. So I had the technique and I had this strong mindset.
I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah,
pissed.
because the thing is, oftentimes when we roll, you know, I kind of let it happen, you know, for several reasons. Like I'm tired already. I don't want to hit you with an elbow, and then you're already in a position where you submit me, like your signature, like head and arm triangle. And so maybe this is where the big contrast comes from like Mirko's like easy to get into a submitting position to I cannot even take him down.
But it just means that it's good because when you leave practice and you feel really good because about yourself, you didn't really grow. But if you leave practice humbled, then that means you've grown a little bit. But Mirko, what I'm really interested in is your shift in mindset before you step into the cage or any type of competition. Is there any kind of shift or like what's going on?
Yeah, I mean you talked about this like the boxer Mike Tyson.
Yeah, Mike Tyson. Yeah.
I cannot identify at all.
Is a god? You don't think that you are a god if you
Did you think that?
Yeah, he thinks he's a god.
Oh shit! No.
He builds himself up. He talks to himself, and then when he steps into the ring, there's a scene with him and Teddy Atlas where he cried before the fight, and then Teddy built him up, and he has, let's go. He was like 16, 17, built like a tank.
But recently he said he cried because he didn't like the person he was about to turn into, and it had a lot of negative qualities that person had. But
like
none of
biting ears off.
Yeah, I mean so it's like I think that is of the most extreme example that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not megalomaniac enough to, be competing at UFC or ONE FC. I think you need to be a little bit megalomaniac also to go like on the big stage and all of that and being interviewed.
I mean, of course, one factor is like time. Nobody beats time, and if you start late, like you, what would have been if you had the opportunities at 20, like with the same mindset, but in the right environment?
Right. Yeah. For example, I told you I was competing. I had my first fight at 16, and then one at 18 and one at 25. That's all I had. But in between, well, let's say after the fight at 16, if I just stayed with like fighting, I don't know.
Who knows?
Probably be
especially at that time. It must be 1950 or something.
But these were MMA fights or Muay Thai or what?
That was just kickboxing, K1 kickboxing with knees, no elbows. No, I just want. I'm interested in the cage. I want to see what happens. Like everybody else, I just want to see what happens. Obviously, I don't want to get humiliated. It's just like the basic stuff. Until now, I didn't try too fancy stuff. I think once you're more comfortable, but I don't know how comfortable you should be with those small gloves. So, yeah, let's see.
Do you have any updates on what you're going to be doing for fighting this year?
Yeah, I try to fight as often as possible this year because I have to climb the ladder again. I mean, I only took like 2 little steps, but
you're number 4 in the
5th, I think.
5th in the 70 kg division.
How many are in that division?
In the 70 is 13 last year. I don't know about this year, but probably more.
But some tough entries joining that weight class this year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. Holy moly! Yeah, so after some like Jovidon is going down to 70.
Yeah.
And so let's just say I thought like if someone does such a weight cut, maybe I should also do such a weight cut. And so I'm now fighting at 65.
This is the big news.
Now I have to climb the ladder again.
But do you have an opponent yet?
Yes. I think it's not confirmed yet.
It's going to be May 18th. What day?
May the 18th in Hanoi in the big arena.
That's the big that it is so much fun to get there. It is incredible the energy there.
I think we can do a little series like with the weight cut, with the trip, with the behind the scenes warm up.
Let's do it.
What do you think before the fight? Especially as a bigger weight cut is quite interesting, I think, for the people.
Yeah, Mirko's definitely gonna need your support with that weight cut.
I'm just slamming doors, crying, let me alone.
Yeah.
You can hold his hand in the sauna.
But I've got one question for you on last question. Very interesting life. It's definitely one that we all want to learn more about and contributes to your journey right now. If someone was to write a book about your life, what would be the title?
Another question I have to think about deeply.
Just say something that no one can disagree with, with confidence, and you're good to go.
Man,
come on.
Sometimes I visualize a Peter Pan. You know Peter Pan? The guy who never grows up. Yeah. Sometimes I think I'm like kind of Peter Pan.
Okay, turn that into a title.
The ageless Vietnamese wonder.
Peter Pan, but Anne.
Oh, Peter Pan, but in parentheses, but Anne.
Yeah.
Okay,
right?
but where is Neverland? Is it here or is it like in Germany?
I think here.
It's a place
especially in
in your
Chaodien.
It's in Chaodien.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book title is Peter Pan.
The thing is, sometimes I look into the mirror and see a grown-ass man, but it's the same person that watches from the inside out, I don't feel like a 29-year-old guy. I feel like I'm still 18, like still doing shit. It's like I have no responsibilities. It's like
you look like it too.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, On, for
thanks
coming on.
Having me.
For coming on. You've improved in a lot of ways since I've met you. Thankful to call myself your training partner and everything. Anything you'd like to tell the greater Vietnamese combat sports community?
Yeah, I think if I can give some advice, like what would I do? I think it all comes down to discipline. Or like Mike Tyson said, without discipline, you're nobody. And it's true. You're nobody without discipline. Everything in life you want to do, you can. If it's done before, you can do it too. You just have to put in the time and the effort. And don't forget to floss your teeth.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Full episodes every Wednesday, 6 p.m.